The story begins with an orphan boy named Rudo, who lives in the slums, and has the hobby of stealing trash from rich people's dumpsters. This world is divided into the white-walled city, where the rich and wealthy live, while filthy trash like Rudo lives in the black slums outside. In this world, there is a legend that every object has a soul, and it shows its true potential if you care for it enough, which makes it precious. But the rich throw away anything that's even a little used, and all of it ends up at a massive trash collecting site, which ultimately gets thrown into the great pit along with the people who have committed crimes. One day on the rich side, a woman tells her daughter to toss out her stuffed toy after it gets a little damaged. She says fixing it will only make it look ugly, and they can always buy a new one. Hearing this, the little girl wipes her face, and throws it away without a second thought, as she starts talking about wanting a kitty cat for her next one. After that, her mom packs up all the trash and drops it into an underground vent, where it ends up in a garbage truck. The truck reaches the collection site, and Rudo jumps off on his way into one of the side rooms to look for anything usable. There, he accidentally makes too much noise for the guard to notice. The guard quickly breaks in and points his gun at the boy, asking if he is the infamous trash raider, and then smashes that alarm button to call for backup. Rudo grabs whatever junk is closest and flings it at the guards. A few rotten eggs splatter across their spotless uniforms, and that alone is enough to leave them frozen in place, too disgusted to react. While they stand there in shock, Rudo climbs back up the vent without even looking back. He reaches the surface near the exit, but his luck turns as the gate slams shut right in front of him. Before he can come up with a backup plan, more guards rush in and open fire. Rudo dodges through the chaos and sprints toward the wall. A bullet grazes his arm, but he still manages to vault over and disappear into the shadows. From behind, the guards shout that they can't let a kid get away, but by then, Rudo has already crawled through a sewer tunnel. Bruised and annoyed, he mutters to himself how ridiculous it is that the rich protect their garbage like it's some kind of national treasure. The next day, news about the trash raider spreads like wildfire. The elites find it hard to believe someone would actually go through the trouble of stealing garbage. When they spot Rudo's adoptive father from the slums, they look at him with disgust and say that slum people should just stay on their own side. On the other side of the wall, the poor people already know who is behind all the commotion, and they pray that the annoying kid kicks the bucket before he ends up driving the guards to them. But Rudo does care at all and keeps fixing the junk he collected. Just then, his friend Schwa shows up and scolds him for going after trash again because she's worried that something bad might finally happen if the trash management catches him. Rudo tells her the rich keep throwing out perfectly good stuff, and he simply uses that to make a living by fixing and selling them to the people in the slums who might actually appreciate them. Right then, a group of bullies shows up to make fun of him and say they finally found the source of the awful stink in the area. They even tell Schwa what to stop hanging out with him before she ends up smelling like garbage too. One of them knocks over Rudo's stuff, and says no one's ever going to buy any of it. They mock his hands too, and say they're so nasty he needs dirty gloves just to hide them. Rudo stays quiet through all the bullying, but the second they call him the son of a crazy murderer, something inside him snaps. The bullies start bragging about how the slums were built to trap criminals like him and how they're trying to fix that by earning back some respect. But they say Rudo's father ruined everything they've worked for with his serial killer reputation. Rudo gives them a nasty look that makes them flinch, so they throw in one last insult about how he'll probably turn out just like his dad, then run off in a panic. After they're gone, Schwa walks up and tries to calm him down. She says she still believes in him. Then her eyes land on the same stuffed toy from earlier and she smiles, amazed at how good it looks now. Rudo says it's not for sale, but just as he's about to give it to her, Schwa's mom shows up and yanks her away. She scolds her for hanging around with that weirdo again. Feeling crushed, Rudo goes home to see his foster father, Recto, who starts teasing him by copying the way he acted and jokes about how Ruto was trying to flirt by giving the toy to that cute girl. Rudo turns red from embarrassment because he didn't even realize he was being watched. The old man brings up Rudo's trash diving and says they're not so poor that he needs to go that far. He asks him to leave that kind of work to him until he's older, and reminds him how dangerous it was last night. Recto thinks Rudo might feel like he owes him something for taking him in, but Rudo says that's not it. He just wants to do his part as a family. The conversation shifts to Schwa, and Recto tells him to be a little more honest with her. Then he notices the cut on Rudo's arm and starts patching it up. While doing that, he asks Rudo to take off his gloves too. Once he does, his pitch-black arms are exposed. Rudo blames them on his real father, the one who was sentenced to death and thrown into the pit. He says he's had to deal with everything alone, getting judged for how he looks, and that his hands hurt all the time. But ever since the day Recto gave him those gloves, things have felt a bit easier. After wrapping up the first aid, the old man gently pushes him again to tell Schwa how he really feels before someone else wins her over. Meanwhile, outside the house, a mysterious figure spends the night quietly watching them. The next day, after getting a quick lesson on how to smile from Recto, Rudo builds up his courage and heads off to find Chua. On the way, he catches sight of a man being thrown into the pit while people nearby shout cruel names at him. It makes him wonder what actually happens to the ones who get tossed down there. Just then, Schwa greets him with a cheerful good morning. He quickly hides the stuffed toy behind his back and she quietly mentions how sad it is that everyone's forced to watch the executions, even if they don't want to. She tells him she doesn't want to see him end up like that someday, and says if he keeps risking his life, that awful future might actually happen. Rudo shrugs and says Recto always nags him about the same thing, but Schwa just smiles and tells him that it probably means the old man cares about him as much as she does. The words slip out before she can catch them, and once they do, the two go quiet. Rudo's face turns red, but he holds out the stuffed toy and nervously says he hopes she'll like it even if it came from the dumpsters. Schwa looks at it with sparkling eyes and says she'll treasure it forever. Blushing like crazy, Rudo spins around and races back eager to show Recto and tell him everything, but as he turns a corner and rushes through the front door, he skids to his stop. A masked man is standing inside the house, and Recto is on the floor, a sword plunged deep into his chest. Rudo rushes toward the masked man, desperate to save Recto, but the attacker easily knocks him aside and slams him into the wall. Rudo tries to get back on his feet, barely holding on, and watches as the man calmly picks up a book and walks away. Recto tries to speak, but Rudo promises to help him survive, and the old man uses his final breath to shout at him, telling him to run away and change this garbage world. Just as Recto goes still, the guards arrive. They take one look at Rudo, covered in blood, and assume the worst. Recto, the only person who ever treated him like family, is gone. Rudo tries to speak up, tell them what really happened, but one of the guards punches him in the face and knocks him out before he can say a word. Later, the slums are filled with whispers. A crowd gathers around the house, some curse is named, calling him a monster. Even Schwa is shaken and confused, and wonders if he could really be guilty. Rudo is brought to the execution site. Tied up high above the ground, he listens in silence as a priest gives a slow formal speech. The man says that a murderer has no place in their land, and must be thrown into the pit. Below, the people begin chanting, treating him like nothing more than trash. Rudo can barely process what is happening. He scans the crowd, hoping someone might stand up for him. When he sees Schwa, he gathers what strength he has left and cries out to her, begging her to believe him. He swears that Recto was murdered, and begs her to find the real killer. But instead, Schwa calls him a murderer, just like his father, and throws away his stuffed toy before running off. After that, the crowd starts chanting and calling him the scum of society. Seeing this, Rudo breaks down and starts laughing like a madman, thinking these people are the real scum with no minds of their own. Just as the head priest gives the order to throw him away, Rudo spots the real killer standing in the crowd, but by then, it's already too late. The guards drag him toward the pit, and as he falls, he quietly swears to make every single one of these people pay and drive them all to hell. During the fall, he suddenly feels something strange, and then everything goes dark. Later, when he finally wakes up, Rudo finds himself lying in a pile of garbage that smells worse than anything he's ever known. As he turns around, he sees a massive trash monster made from all the junk people threw down. Seeing that, he starts panicking and thinks that this must be what hell looks like. But that's where the video ends. Let me know in the comments if you want me to cover part 2, and if you enjoyed watching this video, consider liking and subscribing for more like it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.